everyone, my name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And welcome to the WireTap. We want to thank you for our 21st episode here. And we're getting past impeachment. Now, as we're recording this right now, as of tomorrow, from day of recording, the trial is supposed to start in the Senate for impeachment. And we had just done our last episode on impeachment. And I'm sure that it will not be our last here in the coming weeks. So we want to take just a moment to pause from that because there really hasn't been many new developments outside of speculation and the typical just political procedures that go on within Washington with this kind of stuff and just partisan games. But really in terms of actual tangible developments, there really hasn't been much. So I want to take a moment to pause and I want to address something that has been going on in Virginia. Now today, as we speak, there is a rally, and they're calling it Lobby Day in Virginia. And it is in protest of various anti-Second Amendment measures that the legislature of Virginia is taking. Now you might say, well, JD, that's a little unfair to just label them anti-Second Amendment. Well, they are. I mean, they are. And this is according to Yahoo News. I know it's an always reliable source, but I mean, they do have the story here, and they kind of lay all of this out in that after the Virginia Beach shooting in May of 2019, the Democrats in the legislature of Virginia started crafting and promised to draft something to try to address that. And Yahoo says that the new laws under consideration would prohibit magazines with more than 10 rounds, the purchase of more than one weapon per month, and permit judges. Now, this is the especially vague part of all of this. Permit judges to seize weapons from individuals deemed dangerous. A draft ban, and this is something that they were planning before, a draft ban on the sale of semi-automatic rifles, however, has been abandoned. They received too much backlash on this ban that they were going to try to do on semi-automatic rifles.
But basically, they're doing a test trial of red flag laws.
Exactly. And that was what I was going to make the point about, of that very last part is eerily reminiscent of what we were just talking about a couple months ago with red flag laws. We were just having this discussion a couple months ago. And there was a big schism on the right about whether or not these laws should be in place. There was a large schism among conservatives. And I know that just as we enjoy whenever the left tears themselves apart, I'm sure that the left was doing the same thing to us. But this is eerily similar to where the language used is that they can seize weapons from individuals deemed dangerous. And everyone in their own mind has an idea of what that looks like. But unfortunately, you can't go off of that with the law. Or can you? Because it seems like that kind of stuff happens all the time. And you get these little gray areas of what is dangerous, what is not. And that is exactly what is so frightening about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To where it is so vague, to where there's a lot of room for interpretation. And that's kind of what you're seeing here. But the point of all this is that you've had a rally, or you're having a rally, at least as of today, as we're speaking. You're having this rally, and of course, with this, there's been a whole lot of publicity that, in my opinion, is used to some extent to divert the attention away from what the actual issue is here. And it's diverting people's attention away from that toward what typically these kind of things go toward, or the media goes toward in these kind of situations, to where it's like, well, what about Nazism? What about these far right nationalists? What about these Charlottesville? I mean, that's what they're going to. That's what they're talking about.
That's what they've already switched the story to.
That's what this has become. It's not become, how are these people standing up to a government who is doing something which any person with a 5th grade understanding of civics can see is a violation of the Second Amendment and the Bill of Rights. We've shifted that story. That story has already been shifted away toward this rally, which is going to promote Nazism and fascism and whatever else.
Yeah.
That is what now the narrative and the story has become. The media has successfully diverted that message, but here at the Conservative Wire, we will not allow our journalistic principles to be so diluted. But there is a little annotation here, and it says, a backlash to the restrictions has spread throughout the state, and more than 100 counties and localities have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries, threatening not to apply the laws. And of course, this has caused a crap storm amongst the left, because for some reason it's okay for them to do it whenever it comes to illegal immigration and all these kind of things. But whenever people threaten not to follow a law in the same manner, similar manner, declare themselves sanctuary cities, sanctuary localities, and municipalities, suddenly that becomes an issue. Whenever the tables are turned and it's on an issue that the left feels very strongly for, or against, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
The tables have turned and they don't like that. I think if you really want to know what the core of the issue is, and the core of the qualm among the left, nationwide anyway, is about this, not just within the state of Virginia, but nationwide, what the qualm of this is that their own tactic, their own playbook is being turned against them. Now, I believe that we discussed sanctuary cities way back when, in terms of what their reasoning was, and their legal argument was that basically what they were doing is they were leaving the enforcement of immigration law up to federal authorities, because it was federal law that these people were breaking.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of a specious argument there, in that breaking the law is breaking the law, and there's always cooperation between local authorities and federal authorities in that sense, because breaking the law is breaking the law. It has nothing to do with federalism, which is what they were claiming, and the powers of the states and in relation to the federal government. So the left hasn't believed in federalism in decades, arguably centuries.
Yeah.
But this same tactic is being used against them, whether you agree with it or not. Whether you agree with them not doing this is one thing. And I think that it is much more arguable in this instance, for the violation of Second Amendment rights and the Bill of Rights. It's much more obvious, it's much more clear that something is wrong here, and a case is able to be better argued here than it is for illegal immigration, as to why you're a sanctuary city, why you're not enforcing the law, why you're not doing these things.
And the fact that their own playbook is being used against them is driving them crazy. It's just like the election of Trump. He's been using their playbook against them for the last 3 years.
Yeah. And this group, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, rather, they're the ones who have organized this, and this has been called Lobby Day. And I imagine what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking through Twitter today, you're going to be looking through social media, and you're going to see a bunch of stories about people with their guns, people doing insane things. I had already seen it today. I think it was actually from the Daily Caller that there was a man, MSNBC was doing a live report. There was a man who came behind and shouted some obscenities at MSNBC and the reporter while they were doing a live shot on the scene of this rally. You're going to see a lot of these stories, and ultimately what they're going to do is they're just going to try to smear gun owners, smear supporters of the Second Amendment, as they've been doing in a relentless campaign for decades now. For years, administrations upon administrations, and decades upon decades. They're going to be trying to do that. And you just have to hope that nobody there does anything that gives gun owners and Second Amendment supporters a black eye. Because it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Because if we used individuals on the left and those who ascribe to progressive principles, communist principles, socialist principles, whatever it might be, who are supporters of Planned Parenthood and the Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU, all these leftist progressive groups, if we used individuals from them as caricatures and straw men for what the left are, we would have a much, much easier time at it than the left does to us.
Yeah.
But even so, if we're being intellectually honest, that is not a fair comparison, and that is not a fair conclusion to draw off of only a couple of individuals from one side of an issue to another. That's ultimately not fair. But fairness doesn't matter anymore. Truth doesn't matter anymore. Honesty doesn't matter anymore. Because we're in the post-truth era. We're in the post-truth society. It doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is what points you can score. All that matters is what you can do. And you even see it here. Here at the top. A man by the name of Brooks, a 24-year-old Richmond resident who would not give his full name, came with a group of friends, including one with an AR-15 assault rifle, and then, in quotes, to support the Second Amendment. It's that kind of reporting. It's that kind of stupidity. There's another thing in here I would like to hit. Where was it? Because it talks... It makes mention of how Richmond was the capital of, what was it? Was it it was like the capital of the Confederacy. It talked about something with slavery. It somehow found a way to bring slavery into this, and of course down here, Ralph Northam, who was talking about we don't want to see what happened in Charlottesville.
He did wear
blackface,
so. Mr. Northam.
Yes, Mr. Ralph Northam, the good old Democratic governor of Virginia, talking about nobody wants to see what we saw in Charlottesville and blah, 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 blah. So
it always goes back to Charlottesville. This has all
been blown up such out of proportion. And I imagine the day will come and pass, hopefully. And if something does happen, this will look kind of bad if something does happen. But I imagine the day will probably come and pass with nothing significant, at least from this group of people from the Virginia Civil Defense League or Citizens Defense League. The people from this group who organized this event, you're not going to see anything significant from them, I don't imagine.
Well,
anything else is going to come from outside antagonists who want to ascribe themselves to this. They'll try to tie themselves to this, or maybe not. Maybe Antifa will show up, and we'll see a resurgence of that. I don't know. But if you're looking for some sort of catastrophic violence or destruction or anything otherwise from the Virginia Citizens Defense League, I don't think you're going to find it.
It's people protesting a law.
Yes, it's people protesting a law. and they're protesting what they believe to be unjust. Not unlike, as we record here on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, what he did in his fight for civil rights and his fight against what I think we all look at as unjust, but also, what he believed was unjust. And these people believe are unjust, and I'm not saying that their cause is necessarily the same or equitable, but it's the same principle that they too have this ability to assemble. They too have this ability to protest something that they see as a violation of their Second Amendment rights. The same as marchers and protesters throughout the civil rights movement felt as though their rights were being violated under the 14th Amendments, the 15th Amendments, and just their basic rights deemed unalienable in the Declaration of Independence, and thereby the Constitution should therefore house the ability to have those protected. And ultimately, I think what you're seeing the genesis. Well, not really the genesis. You're seeing an outpouring of the same kind of sentiment that happened or was present before the Tea Party movement in 2010, a year, or 10 years ago, a decade ago. You're seeing that same kind of sentiment. You're seeing that same kind of brazenness from the left. But the difference was that the left in 2008, but prior to the Tea Party movement in 2010, had everything. They had swept the nation. They had swept the congressional houses. Obviously, Barack Obama was elected president. They had these massive victories after Bush, which isn't necessarily surprising. It's historically kind of the way that it's the pattern that we're in, it seems. But you saw the same kind of sentiment then, but the Democrats had much more power. They had much more support. They had the control to back it up. What you're seeing now is you're seeing that same kind of brazenness, arguably even more brazen, even more outspoken, out front than before. And they don't have near the power that they had in 08 and 09.
Yeah.
You're seeing that same kind of sentiment, and that's what is scary. That's what is concerning to me, and I've been watching for a while, is that they're getting more outspoken, and they're able to become even more of a vocal minority. And that's been discussed before in years past by many other people, is that they're a vocal minority. And it's becoming even more evident. It's becoming even more vocal, more destructive. And that's a trend that I think that we're going to have to keep watch for. And yeah, I finally found it. I've been scouring this article for it. It says that Richmond was a capital of the pro-slavery Confederacy.
Oh my.
And Virginia has traditionally leaned conservative. Just this random, that's it.
It is so obvious that this entire rally is tied back to slavery.
To slavery. It's just a one-sentence paragraph thrown in here after a paragraph talking about Trump supporters being there. And of course, it was the capital of the pro-slavery Confederacy. A fact that hasn't mattered at all in over 150 years.
Are you kidding me?
Hasn't mattered.
This is the rally that's going to reignite.
This is the rally that will reignite. The South will rise again.
This is where it starts.
It's been 150 years in the making, but this rally, the Lobby Day event today in Richmond's Capitol Square in the Commonwealth of Virginia, from the Virginia Citizens Defense League.
Oh yeah.
Today is the day.
Massive dog whistle right here.
Massive dog whistle. Even the name VCDL. There's probably some sort of Confederate connection there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. But we want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the WireTap. And this is always a lot of fun whenever we do this. And, we try our best to do what we can. And we really do appreciate all the support that you guys give us. And, it really is a blessing to be able to do this. So, for Logan, I am JD saying goodbye, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode.